So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Malcolm Khalil Miller, and good afternoon. I just want to warm y'all up a little bit before I go with this introduction. You know, when I say she, you say ready. She. All right, I love the energy. Give yourselves a round of applause. Awesome. So let me just get my little list out here. I feel so excited to be here in the presence of my friends and family and community and freedom fighters and change makers and all that. Okay, so we got some moderators coming up to the stage here. We got President of the East County NAACP Youth Council, Gavin Payton. And then we got, you want to introduce yourself and your role?
Hi, everybody. My name is Nadia. I'm the second vice president of the NAACP, and I'm going to be one of your moderators today.
Now that's Nadia King. Don't mess with the Kings, y'all. Okay. And then we got our lovely panelists. We got Dr. Jag of the Antioch School Board. Anything you want to say before you? Okay. And then, oh, we also got Dee Brown. Are you ready?
Yes.
She ready. We also got Antioch City Manager Bessie Scott. Oh, awesome. Fashionably late, right on time is Chanel Scales Preston. And Contra Costa County Supervisor, newly elected. And she's another panelist. She's ready. To the opening prayer done by Gavin Payton.
Good morning. How is everyone feeling this morning? All right, I'm going to get started with the opening prayer. So if you guys want to join me in prayer, bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Father God, we thank you for today's event. Lord, we ask you to lead us and guide us, independent leaders, Lord. Lord, we ask you to bless us for today and bless us for tomorrow, and let our blessings be known. Let our blessings thrive. I bless the panelists, Lord. Lord, bless upon them and have them prosper, and let their blessings not only be for today, but bless them throughout this process, Lord. We ask you to bless the honorees today, Lord. Lord, we ask you to bless safe return. Lord, we ask you to bless everyone here in this room and remind everyone in this room that they are all strong and independent leaders. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right. So first I will have I guess we'll start with the school board and ask them to introduce themselves and maybe their favorite color.
All right. I am, I know. See if. It's not the mics. I even turned this one off and it didn't help, but thank you. I am Jag Lathan, or Dr. Jag as folks sometimes call me, and I am a school board member. I am in my second year, going into my third year. I'm an educator, a mom, a grandmom, and my favorite color is purple. It's the best color that I like.
Okay, hi, my name is Dee Brown, and my favorite color is brown. How's that? But I am a newly elected school board member. I have to get used to the name. I got to get used to people calling me Trustee Brown. But I am also a mother, a wife, an educational program director for our enrichment programs for both Martinez and Brentwood. And I'm just excited to be here. I'm humbly honored to be a part. Never boastful, never cocky or anything of that nature, but just ready to do the work. And so thank you so much for inviting me.
Hello, my name is Chanel Scales Preston. I am born and raised in the city of Pittsburgh, and so I like to make sure I recognize my city everywhere I go to show our youth that we're Pittsburgh proud all the time. Yes. I am a council member in the city of Pittsburgh. I've been serving on the Pittsburgh City Council for the last 6 years. I also, my day job, I work for Congressman Mark DeSaulnier. So I've been working for a member of Congress for the last 23 years, believe it or not. I used to work for George Miller, and then once he retired, I transitioned over. And then recently, I just got elected to the Board of Supervisors, replacing Supervisor Glover. Thank you, which is really a historical moment to know that Supervisor Glover was the first African American, and I am going to be the first African American woman once sworn in next month. And so really proud and excited. And lastly, I don't have a favorite color. I have colors that I like. So one of my favorite colors happen to be pink, as well as blue, and then like neutral tones. So.
Hi everyone, I'm Bessie Scott. I am the Antioch City Manager. And coming up on 2 months, and we have something similar in common in that I'm the first female city manager that Antioch has ever had. And so that's, I can't believe we're still first, coming up on 2025. And so I was born and raised in California. A lot of people don't know that about me, but I was raised in Southern California, even though I came from Seattle. And I have lots of family in Antioch and Brentwood, Pittsburgh. I have cousins who are bus drivers, actually, for Tri-Delta Transit. I have cousins who work for the City Hall in Oakley. So I have cousins in Richmond, Stockton, Oakland, and San Francisco. And so when you hear people say they don't know where I came from, all you have to do is ask. Nothing in my life is random. And I always say I'm God's favorite, so I do what is ordained for me, and I'm here for a reason. And so whether it's 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years, I'm here because I'm supposed to be here in this moment. So I'm grateful to see all of you all here. I also have something in common. I don't have one favorite color. I have a theme. So where she likes neutrals, I like bright, bold colors. So you'll see me you'll see me on the dais with really bright colors. So.
Awesome. Okay. She's the. Who didn't introduce themselves? Did everyone? Okay. Awesome. So let's start up with the first question. Adia, you want to start the first question? Oh.
Sorry. Yeah. All right, so our first question will be for our city manager. So what inspired you to apply for this position, and what are your plans for Antioch?
Thanks, that's a really good question. So I think what inspired me to apply for the position was the job description is everything I've already done in my life put into one position. So I've worked across what's called the social determinants of health. I started off in housing after taking a kind of a turn with health policy. So I worked for the Federal Department of Human Health Services on a research project that looked at outcomes and disparities in healthcare across the United States in a nationwide study. And something that was really interesting is that I found a lot of disparities where many people of color were. For instance, you can go into a hospital in New Orleans and have a baby and nobody would know. You can have a gunshot wound in Alabama, there was no record. And so I thought, well, how can we track health outcomes and interventions if we don't even have records of who's coming in for what in our most vulnerable areas where there has been an intentional dismantling of social supports and a lack of resources and systemic barriers. And so I worked with the federal government to require states to have statutory healthcare reporting so we could actually get trending to see what's going on and to use our federal dollars to help individuals with coverage. So if certain things are covered under insurance, they need to be added if we get the right data for the people who are most vulnerable. And then I did housing for a very long time, and that's when I realized that place matters. And the zip code that you are born and raised in determines your outcome, because it determines what school you go to and all kind of stuff. So I got to manage a really big portfolio of homeless and housing initiatives. So I had about 11,000 Section 8 vouchers that I controlled at one point for the Department of Housing and Urban Development in the state of Washington. I also did reports to see if people were discriminating in housing, if they received federal funding. And then I worked on certain things like my housing authority had a garbage program. We had our own garbage company in the city of Seattle would rent out our trucks. I managed that. I managed our maintenance and deferment for our assets, like our big buildings. So I could tell you where all the pipes are under the building, and all the even in Seattle we had this initiative where everybody decided to go to garbage bags. So all the businesses had these bags, and they were all over the streets. We were on the national news. That was under me, and I said, we need to go back to containers because this is a mess. It looks like New York at this point. So I've had a lot of different initiatives that all sort of culminate in the different functions of city management, from garbage service to homelessness intervention, economic development, bringing in businesses. And so I have the requisite experience because I've done all the things. This is just all of that in one. So I felt like it was a good fit for my job skills. I also, want to be back close to my family, so it's just a win-win. For the city of Antioch, there's a couple of big initiatives that I'm working on. First, hiring a chief of police to come in the next 6 months, a permanent chief, and there'll be a news conference on this in about 3 weeks, as our interim chief goes into retirement. And the second thing is to work with the county to address homelessness, and that could be transfers of, some of our initiatives to countywide so that we can get the housing authority, for instance, to help. So just working on a comprehensive plan to address our unhoused citizens and figure out what to do about that. And then youth development, youth workforce development and opportunity. So those are my 3 initiatives, and I'll add an economic development. So really excited to do that work. Yeah.
Awesome. Can we have at least 2 questions for the city manager from the audience? Does anyone want to ask questions? Yes.
With human rights and civil rights violations that occurred in our county, that's happening across the nation, how can we ensure that we put systems in place that do not allow former officers or former leaders that were part of that to make sure that they don't do it again, or at least hold them accountable. That's something that I and many families deserve.
Yeah, I think that there are several different ways that we're going to do that. We're going through, obviously, as you know, 2 investigations from the Cal DOJ as well as the federal DOJ. But in between that, we have done our own, from what I can see, since I've been here, mitigation in terms of having the Antioch Police Oversight Committee, Commissioner May right there, as well as a complete rewrite of policies and hiring and recruitment process that vets for inequality, civil rights, and uses post to crosswalk the things that we need. Also, we have built into our police chief search a robust community engagement component. Probably the most of the search is going to be around community engagement. So this is what I tell people all the time. We hear you, we see you, you asked and we answered. So from the time that we chose the firm who will be doing our police chief search, we included people on the Antioch Police Oversight Commission in interviewing everyone and coming up with the final decision. So please, when they come to the city and they invite you all to participate in one-on-one conversations, small group discussions, and community forums, show up. Use all that energy to show up and get the community out to help shape who we choose and the criteria that we use to choose our next police chief. Gigi, here she goes. She just walked in. She already got a question.
But, yes, I do. But are these questions to anyone on the panel, or is it for specific? The city manager?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that the city was able to hire someone who understood the needs of African Americans. That was important to me because of the harms that have been done to us here in this city. So I guess if I had a question specific to you, it would be more about what are we going to do to advance efforts in this county, connecting with the county to make sure that the city of Antioch, the second largest city, that the residents here have a sense of belonging, because right now a lot of the resources are not directed to East County. We don't have a champion for the parts of the county out here around mental health services. And so I'm really hoping, I was at a meeting and I asked the question of Supervisor Diane Burgess, and she said it's the poor relationships we have with the city.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Does the citizens suffer because you don't get along with the mayor? That doesn't seem fair. So I'm just hoping there will be a shift. Thank you.
Yes. That was more, I think that was more of a comment, but I will tell you that we do have partnership. We will be building partnership, and I'm hoping that it starts with this lovely lady sitting right next to me. So there is a plan to cultivate and steward those relationships. And it's not just the supervisors, it's the county administrator, it's our, our Amtrak station, it's, all across the different systems, from PG&E to Kaiser. So all across the county, what are the overlaps and how do we build those relationships back? So I am so excited that I get to be a part of doing that repair work on behalf of the city, and looking forward to making those relationships stronger.
Awesome. So,
Good morning. I do have a question for you. There have been various people, family members, who have complained about the city having a contract with Sutter Hospital when people are hurt or victimized here. I don't know if the city has a contract with Sutter, why they're not utilizing Kaiser. I'm not going to discuss or ask questions about the quality of care at both of those hospitals, but I'm just concerned if we have a contract with Sutter that is revisited and that the public has a chance to speak out about the horrific care they have received there, the horrific care their loved ones have received there, they were also involved within this Antioch police scandal, and the laughing and the taking pictures of victims and making all kind of racist remarks, just terrible. So I would like to know if we have a contract, and can we eliminate that contract with Sutter Delta Hospital? Thank you.
Thank you. I can follow up with you on that. I don't have the details, but I note your concerns, and we'll look into it and then follow back up with you about what to do.
Good afternoon. So my question is regarding the recent city council meeting. I wasn't present, but that weird news, Contra Costa News did show it, as usual. There was a lot of talk of undo the things that so far since I moved here at the end of 2020, I've seen that we're moving in the right direction. So hearing the premise of undoing, what are your thoughts, and what should we really be looking forward to as the marginalized people in this particular city?
Yeah, I think I have a lot of thoughts. I think that right now, my first thought is to make sure that everybody is included, and that there's a limited amount of what I call othering and belonging. And that you all show up at these meetings, continue to show up, and to voice what does not need to be undone. I think that another thing is what people say and what they can legally do. We have lots of housing elements, inclusionary housing zones, things that are tied to our funding and the way that we do our work that have to be in place. And so there will be, discussions, but there's the limits of the law. So I think separate out what is personal and what can actually be done legally, and show up and advocate for the needs of the community as a community. So instead of marginalizing into different categories, what in total will bring the entirety of Antioch to a place that is seeing the opportunity that's here and actually cashing in on it. There's a lot of good things that are happening here that we're not talking about because we're so focused on interpersonal conflict and difference. And so we have opportunity just passing us right by. And so I hope that we get through the noise and get to the actual business and the work of the city, because while we do that, we have a lot of opportunities that we're, not taking. So I think just show up, ask questions, and focus on not what people say, but what we can do. And I know it's harmful and hurtful when people say we want to undo certain things that benefit us as a group. I'm a mom, I'm a partner, and so I'm here, I'm trespassing. I'm trespassing in the halls of power and privilege, and so while I'm a trespasser, I'm gonna do my best to make sure that our needs, all of our needs in the community are met. And so please, reach out when you hear that, come to the meetings, and be centered in what is good for the community, and we're all good for the community, no matter who we voted for. So that's what I say.
Awesome. Okay, and last question.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So you mentioned earlier about the homeless. Yeah. The homeless epidemic. I'm originally from Chicago. I've been here since 2020, and it's very tear-jerking, very uncomfortable, I would say. And I used to do work with the city of Chicago with Mayor Ron Emanuel when he was in office. And I do know a little bit about the homeless, like you can't make them go to the shelter. Here in California, it seems as if no one wants to go. But my main concern is that how they're transferring them all to Antioch. They don't want them in Brentwood. You saw the camps that were along the highway along 4, and they moved them closer to Antioch. So what are the initiative plans about the transferring of moving the homeless into better situations? What will be the initiative to stop the transfer of how they're trying to bring all of that, displace it? Most of the homeless encampments here in Antioch, and not really trying to source and to give an initiative for those cities that they are in to help them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big question that I probably don't have time to answer. I can tell you at a high level, we're starting an advisory committee that will include different players and stakeholders within the county for specifically Antioch. And we've been in talks as recently as yesterday, actually, with the county to partner with us on our homelessness investments, assets, and our plans. We are also going to stand up our own core team. So we'll have our own service provision instead of having the county service provision as well. So yes, it'll be through the county, but it'll be specifically for Antioch. Also, there's talks to bring a day center, warming center, shelter, all that stuff. So one of the things I will say is we don't actually, in this space, know who will come in and who won't because we don't have any actually housing resources. So we can't determine the utilization, who will be, helped by that if we don't have those provisions. So we first have to get what is the current state of the situation, what is the point in time count that is stated on paper versus what our advocates know, because the numbers don't match. I think the point in time count says 400 and something, but we know, we're just had a meeting with our police department and we know it's 600 plus. So we're trying to crosswalk the two, which is why we need individuals in Antioch to tell us what's going on in Antioch and be credible messengers to our individuals who can make those decisions at your level, at the county level. So we want to be able to give the information to make data-informed decisions. And so we have to know our own state in order to ask for help. So we want to do our own sort of surveying, our point in time, which we're going to get with service providers on that. So you'll have more information as time goes out, but we are creating a robust strategic plan to address this issue. Like I've taken up a lot of space, so I'm not going to talk anymore.
Good evening, everyone. Tamisha Torres Walker, co-founder, executive director of the Safe Return Project, and I appreciate you all being here today. I think, our work is around decarceration, right? Making sure that vulnerable, marginalized communities don't fall into the clutches of the criminal legal system due to a lack of poverty, resources, and economic growth. And so we do a lot of work with women and girls where they experience trauma in the community and then they end up going into the juvenile system, prison, jail systems, and then traumatized in those systems with a lack of gender-specific resources. And then they return home with still a lack of gender-specific resources to address the trauma that women and girls in particular experience in our communities. And so I guess my question is, and either all of you could take this or one, is what is, how does your work relate to women and girls and making sure that there will be resources specific to that? And this might be just for our new county supervisor, because we know that, in the city of Antioch, we have a high rate of young people in our criminal legal system from Antioch in particular, and we don't have a lot of resources here. We know that in our school district, historically, students of color and black students have been targeted in schools and incarcerated and criminalized without getting resources. So it would just be good to know, what is your plan for youth and young girls as it relates to your work?
Thank you, Ms. Tamisha. I appreciate it. I just want to just thank the NAACP Youth and Safe Return. So can we give them a round of applause? And thank Delta Bay Church for hosting it in their church as well. Right now, what we're doing, making sure our youth is empowered to even host events like this, and for our young people to see, we all see you. We all know that, you are doing a good job in the community, and we want to empower that. I think it starts with us as individuals, not even being an elected official. Miss Alasia sitting right here in the front row. I've been meeting with Marina Vista Elementary School in the city of Pittsburgh since 2017, 2018. I think she was like in the 3rd grade with 6 other students, and they were on student council. And I just made it a priority for me to work with young women within my community. The group is made up of African American and Latina young ladies. And just showing them that they can do whatever they want to, and no one cannot tell them no, because I heard a lot of no when I was growing up. And you know, you don't want that pushing you back in those spaces. I ran for Pittsburgh City Council in 2018 because we didn't have any youth services within our city. We didn't, all of our youth centers, we had 3 when I was growing up. They were all closed down, and I was raising 2 black boys in the city of Pittsburgh, and I'm taking them to youth services in Walnut Creek and Concord where I worked so they could be close to me, but it wasn't in my community. And so that was my push to create change in my community. So now we do have the Marina Community Center, which is a recreational center for our youth. It's free. They can go there after school. They have tutoring. As Tamisha was sharing, a lot of our African American students within our school system, you know, we had a high rate of our students being suspended. You know, a high rate of our students, African American students in particular, not graduating or, you know, in and out of the juvenile system. And so to me, that was important to create a youth center so they will have somewhere to go to and have a space. I got myself involved in our Pittsburgh PAL and making sure I spend time with those officers so that we were in the schools, but also creating roundtables so that they can hear the youth and how they feel and what they want to see. And the officers was, you know, been able to communicate with them. I created field trips where we'll go to Black Diamond Mines, or I have worked with BART and East Bay Regional Park Districts to create these opportunities. We'll go to the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, where a lot of our young people have never been to a museum in San Francisco. Last year, there was the Egyptian, what would you call it? I can't think of the name of the museum, but they were highlighting one of the Egyptians, pharaohs. Thank you. And so we took 2 busloads of students there, and then we had a chance to go over to Oakland and tour some different museums there, and then come back here to Pittsburgh. I think art is a big deal, and that's something that we don't really have within our school system, and so we create resources through the Pittsburgh Youth Development Center to create these trips. And, you know, we focus on our young women. Being on the county level now, I want to make sure I continue to create an impact, not just in the city of Pittsburgh, but in Antioch, where I know there's a need. I know there's a need to have, you know, recreational centers, have programs, and have people like you to come in and volunteer and mentor with our young people as well. It's a huge deal, but bringing those services is really going to change their life. We have summer youth programs where our youth can work throughout our city. They get a chance and opportunity to see what jobs they like, whether they like to type and do administrative work, or they would like to work with our youth, or work with our public works department to upgrade our parks and beautify their community. You know, those are opportunities where they're not sitting at home, but they're getting a paycheck as well. And also an opportunity to understand that working with our trades have been a big deal. We had a family day a couple of weeks ago at the Boilermakers Hall in Pittsburgh, and I have brought out 3 of our middle schools to come out. and create a trades day where all the trades come out so they can see a different opportunity. I think waiting until they're high school age is tough because college is thrown at them. And so for some of them may feel like, this not for me. And so if they can see like, oh, being a boilermaker, being an electrician with IBEW, or one of the other trades might be a possibility for them. A lot of the people who work in the trades make six-figure incomes, and those are things that we don't highlight. And so that's been a really push this year for me to make sure we're highlighting men and women to get into the trades, and they have that opportunity.
Yeah, we would love to hear from the school board. Unless do you want to answer this question, or we have a question too?
Yes.
Okay.
I was waiting my turn. I believe, Tamisha, the question is around African American girls in schools. And so I started the board in 2022. I was newly elected. And one of the reasons why I ran was because when I look at the data, so the district-wide data, the learning for students, is very low in terms of outcomes. And I know that's a snapshot in time when you look at state data for testing, but that is still very low. Our suspension rates, I don't know if you all know this, but we have some of the highest suspension and expulsion rates in the state for Antioch Unified. And most of those kids are our children, they're black children, and that is unacceptable. So one of the things that I did early on was advocate for an equity audit. It's called an Educational Excellence and Equity Audit, and it's an organization based out of San Diego State did the audit, and they have all this research around audits that they've done around the country, including me. When I was a former principal in Emeryville, I had a equity audit done at my site and turned my school from a low-performing to high-performing school with the information, with the information from the audits. So I was like, how can we get all of our schools, all 25 of our schools, audited by this organization who can tell us, like, these are what schools do in the country that have mostly African American and Latino students, just like your students, same demographics, same income, and they're performing at high levels. And so they do like a comparison and give you recommendations and suggestions. And so we had that. That was the first time that I can remember that our board, we literally had a unanimous vote, all of us. And, we were very divided on that board. It was 3-2 all the time in terms of 3 people who were kind of more of the conservative status quo. We want to keep it the same. And then you have me and Antonio who were like, we need something different, right? But they all voted yes for this. So we had our district-wide audit. I'm getting to your point, Tamisha. District-wide audit. And then myself, I hosted the first equity board committee with community members. Some of you were on that committee. Dee was on the committee. And as one of the results of that, she was like, I want to run, right? Because she saw what the data said, she saw what the audits revealed, and she can tell you more. I'm sure there are other reasons too. But I was so pleased. And Olga also, she's also on the board. She was also on the equity audit committee, the board committee. So we see what the outcomes are of our students, that the audit not only revealed more information, but also it was mostly around like, what is the culture and climate like, right, in your schools, and why. And they gave examples of what they see in our schools that, are showing that like black children, Latino children, students with disabilities, I mean, it's really bad in some places. And so that has been my contribution, to have like this committee to come up with, we came up with board, with draft goals. We haven't had goals on the board since I don't know when, and we have not adopted them yet. We were waiting for the new board to come, and now we're here. Also, I understand, yes, that is a yay, but I understand that in order to get to a place that is ensuring all students are learning well, we had to change the conditions. We had to flip the board. We had to get rid of the superintendent. So there's all these things we have to do. in order to get there. So while I might not be very specific, I'm looking at it from a systems perspective, like how do we get all these bad actors out first, right? Black teachers have come to me specifically. A couple, that's a husband and wife in our district that came from another district, and I heard of phenomenal teachers were disheartened, and they asked me, should we leave? And they were telling me the things that staff are doing to them. And one of the staff members was at the school where the teacher had the black face. Remember? For Halloween, right? And so just working through, and I asked, can you please wait? We're going to flip this board. Like, we're going to make changes. It just takes time. And I also want them to be well. As a black woman, I've left positions where I was harmed, right? So I don't want them to be harmed, and can you wait? And they waited. And so the goal is to get a new superintendent that's strong, that's effective, that knows what they're doing, to do an overhaul, to really have a strong equity focus. We need an equity department, right? So a department that's really focused. Everybody needs to be focused on making sure kids are learning well. But there are certain safeguards that can help with that when you have certain positions, right? And right now, those things are not happening. And so that is my goal as a board member, is to make sure that we are following through with these things, and so that our kids are no longer harmed. And that starts even as the principals. I'm going, are you kidding me? Like, this is not, one of the principals told me, and I'm trying to be very positive, one of the principals told me he left his district in Brentwood making not as much money as he makes here. We are the highest performing school, the highest earning school district in our county. He left his school in Brentwood to make more here with half the students. 450 students here, 1,000 students in Brentwood. And I asked him, how are the students in Brentwood doing? He said, oh, they were off the charts. Those kids aren't any different than our kids. That's unacceptable. So we have people coming here to make more money to do less work. And my thing is to flip the script. You're going to come here and you're going to work, and we're going to look at data, and we're going to make sure, we're going to do surveys. We're going to make sure that black children are doing exceptionally well. And you know, when you raise the students who are not doing the best, guess what happens? Everybody raises up. So your Latino students will do better. Your students with disabilities will do better. Your English learners will do better. And so that is my goal as a board member. I'm looking at it from the bigger perspective, the broader systems piece, because in order to create those conditions for people to come and do well, and for kids, black children to do well, we have to have those conditions in place.
And I just want to add, because I was just listening to your remarks, Dr. Jag, and you just pointed out a good point. So when you are on a school board or a city council where you have people on the board who want to create change, and you have those number of votes, well, change happens quickly, right? Versus when you are a 3-2 and the two people want to create the change, well, it's gridlock, right? So then you have to wait for those 2 years to try to identify people to run so that we can support them so they can be on the board to help the rest of them create that change. So as elections are just so important, because change doesn't happen if you don't have a board that is all in line to make that change. So whereas in the city of Pittsburgh, when I talk about youth, there was no objections, right? So when I get there and say open up a youth center, it's 5-0. When I say let's build the skate park, it's 5-0. When we're building a 40,000 square foot gym so that we can have basketball, gymnastics, cheer, all of these things, so our youth don't have to go outside of our city, there's no objections. And so I think that part is really important, to have like-minded people to push our community forward. So I just want to point out, when elections, they matter, people need to vote, and we need to get behind people who want to create the change.
So I 100% agree with Dr. Jag. And then also I wanted to add that without students, without parents, there are no students. So making sure that our students have a very safe space. We hear the word transparency all the time. We're going to be transparent. We're not going to judge. So making sure that these young women and just students of color have a safe space for them to be able to gain trust from us, because it's going to take the adults to be able to pour into them. So if they don't feel safe, you can talk until you're blue in the face. They're not going to participate. They're not going to engage with you. So my job as a trustee is making sure our students of all color, mainly our Black and brown, to basically have a safe space and say, you know what, we are here to support you, not just in words, right? Because we can hear a whole bunch of talk, but in deed as well. And so making sure that the parents feel safe, that when they're sending their kids to school, because I have a little one in school, she's TK. So when I send my kid to school, my daughter to school, I want to make sure that as a parent, that the collective is working together and making sure that these students have all that they have, right? Don't make sense if I give her a nail and give her the hammer and I just sit there and not do the work either. We all collectively have to do something to make that change, like Chanel said. So in the school board right now, we flip the seat. But it doesn't make no sense to flip a seat if none of us that are on the board is going to do the job. And I know our cities and our students and our parents are tired of talk. It is now time to really do it. And like she said, it's not going to happen overnight because Rome wasn't built overnight. But now we can start making sure that what our students need and what my daughter need and your grandchildren need and generations to come is to make sure that they have exactly the proper tools, right? So when we were a part of the equity committee, it wasn't really easy to make sure everyone was on the same page, but we all were in the room together and we had the same goal. We wanted to make sure that our kids received what they needed to receive to get these suspensions rates down, because it makes no sense. No sense whatsoever, and that can be your kids as well. So I just wanted to agree with both of them and just say that we're here to make the change.
Thank you. One question from the
Hello.
audience.
I just wanted to say thank you to all you lovely ladies for all of the things that you're doing within the community. And I wanted to ask how we can bring the parents in to our communities where they can assist in the education of their children, our children, because it takes a village to raise a family. And now in our schools, you know, we have our children who are suffering because by the time they're in third grade, they're no longer learning to read, but they're reading to learn, but they're struggling. And then when they leave elementary to junior high, they're struggling. When they leave junior high to high school, they're struggling. So we talk about the kids and how they're getting into trouble and having all these difficulties when some of those issues have to do with them not being able to read. So how can we reach them, and how can we reach the parents? Because it's going to take us reaching the parents to reach their children and for us to work together as a team, because the teachers can't do it all by themselves. The parents can't do it all by themselves, so we have to be able to work as a community.
Thank you. Great question. I will say for K3, we have started a really strong reading, kind of, I wouldn't say program, but reading practices. And I don't know if you all, I go to every school during the school year. I meet with principals, I walk classrooms, and I'm watching the transition, the transformation of reading in K3, and I'm actually really impressed with it. So I know over time it's going to make a big difference. That doesn't mean every teacher is doing a fantastic job right now, but there is a lot of training, and folks are putting in the work. So I'm hoping to see evidence of that in the near future. What we do need to do more of is making it culturally relevant, because I don't see that. So I don't see enough books in the classrooms that reflect African American students, Latino students, Indigenous students, things like that. So we really need to also flip our curriculum. In terms of parents, I know parents don't feel safe. A lot of our parents in our school district don't feel safe. It's in particular Black parents that have come to me. to tell me how they're experiencing schools, and I know it's true. I went to a school, they didn't know I was a board member, and I was floored. And when they found out I was a board member, they were so apologetic. Don't be apologetic. This is, what? like I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother, right? It doesn't matter if I'm a board member or not. I shouldn't be waiting at this gate for 20 minutes trying to get into a school. It's unacceptable. So just imagine how parents feel. And so one of the things is to really, we need to work with our principals. And I have all kinds of things I'm thinking, you know, like, do you really want to be here is the first thing. Do you really want to serve black children? Do you really, you know, because if you don't, then you need to go to a district where you don't have to work with black parents. But in this district, you do. And so that's the first thing, is do we have staff that actually understand how to work with black parents and want to work with black parents? Right? And that includes black staff.
That's right.
Because black people, we can be anti-black too.
Yes, we can.
And I see it all the time. And so that's the thing. So going through anti-black training, going through culturally responsive training, and then holding people accountable.
Right.
If you're not getting the results you need to get, the board needs to hold the district accountable. That is our job as a board, to monitor our school district. And so that's part of it, is to make it more welcoming and inviting, changing it so it's not so institutionalized. Park Middle School looks institutional.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like a jail. And it's unacceptable. And we thank God that you all passed, those of you who live in Antioch, the bond, so that now we have bond measures. But those are the things we need to do. Keep the schools safe, but make them look loving. You don't have to put up a big, tall gate. You can still make it safe, but also very warm and welcoming looking. So those are some of the things. And then talking to parents more. What will it take? You all have to tell us. What will it take for you to go to the school and feel like you're welcomed? And what does it mean when you don't? What does it feel like, right? And so I would want to hear more from you all about what that looks and feels like.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Maria. And I just wanted to mention, sorry, I just wrote a note on it. So we recently moved to Antioch about 2.5 years ago from Oakland. And Oakland is definitely a melting pot, and we saw all people of color, and we loved the cultural and the diversity of Oakland. And we saw that and reflected that in the public schools. And since living out here, I noticed we do not see that. My son goes to a school, and all the teachers are white. And from certain teachers, he does experience microaggressions. And there's been a number of times where I had to send emails and speak with the principal. And he was definitely being treated different than other students. And when my son reached out for help, he would ignore him and like pretty much sweep him under the rug. And when I spoke to him about it, he was not responsive. And so I had to speak to the principal in order for the teacher to actually teach and help my child. So I think one of the issues that I've seen from moving here compared to Oakland is that we need more teachers in the schools teaching people of color. My son is Black and Latin, and the school staff does not reflect that of the children of Antioch. So what I think is hindering our students is having teachers that actually care for our children. That's what I've noticed. I'm trying to teach my son to advocate for himself because there's not going to be anyone at school advocating for him, and he needs to speak up, and I do that, you know, from at home. But I think that what's going to be helpful, and I know the struggles of, you know, teaching and, you know, the poor wage, and, you know, a lot of people, especially of color, it's a field that it's lacking and needs more help. So I think that if we can help teachers more, especially teachers of color, and give them the support that they need so that they can help our children, it'll foster the next great generation. I think it starts, we all have to work together as far as the teachers, the management, and the community and the parents, because not one person can do it on their own. But I think that we need to be reflective, and we all need to come together to help our students. There was an instance that when I went to one of my, it was an open house, and one of the teachers had a very derogatory poster on his wall, and it was of Uncle Sam, and it said, so it's a picture of Uncle Sam on a poster, and it said, work hard, millions on welfare depend on you. It was coming from a white teacher. And I was very disgusted by that poster. And for people or for students to come to school every single day and have to look at that. And he was a white teacher, had an American flag on his wall, and had that poster up. I was very disgusted. It was not until there was a new principal where that poster was taken down. And this is also the same teacher that there was a Latino student that was sitting on the floor. And in a nutshell, basically what he said was, you look like you're on Mission Street. And for some of you, you may not know, but Mission Street is a neighborhood in San Francisco predominantly of Latino Hispanic descent. And now through gentrification it's different. However, that was, that was racist for him to say, and he said it out loud and everybody heard. But maybe not everyone was aware because it's in San Francisco and we live out here. But I'm originally from San Francisco, so I know that neighborhood very well. So we need to get teachers like this out, because it's not healthy for our children's state of mind, and they're not uplifting our children. So to be honest, and I struggle with my son all the time because I try to check in with him, and sometimes his teacher will say something and he's like, Mom, calm down, because he doesn't want any issues. But it's not okay. And this is also the same teacher that was heard that he had some situations going on with the minors. And he was basically suspended under investigation for a couple of months. And something did go on that was not okay with minors. And we don't know the extent because the principal doesn't want to give that information out to the parents. However, what ended up occurring is that he was able to come back, but he wasn't able to teach 9th grade. He was only able to teach 11th grade for whatever reason. But it doesn't matter if you're 14 or 16. Under that situation, those 2 years, they are still minors and they are still children. So whatever occurred, it was something, and they don't want to share that information, but it was something that was unacceptable for minors, with texting back and forth and some sort of situation. So it doesn't matter, you should not be in the school district. So thank you for your time.
This is all very disturbing to me. I spend more time as the CEO of NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, supporting family members, mainly African Americans, in IEPs, or what I think are going to be IEPs, and supporting individuals who are fighting criminal cases, because we have criminalized what is a medical condition. So I really want to appreciate Yvette and Neil. We started the first part of the week at Pittsburgh Court trying to support, and I'm going to say their names because I want their names lifted up and I want them prayed for. Dershawn Jackson. And then the second part of the week, I kept tuggling back and forth between these two African-American males, 129, and then a 13-year-old whose name is Matthew Jordan, who I sat at the Antioch Unified School District with, him and his mom, thinking I'm walking into a meeting about an IEP, but instead it was an expulsion meeting. They were trying to get rid of him. Now, we write the narrative about African-American kids not reading. This kid is a genius, and he was attacked. What's not safe is a black young male in the Antioch Unified School District. That's what's not safe. I sat across the table from 3 white American women, the principal, the district psychologist, and I can't remember the other one, the African-American male who was responsible for the expulsions for this Antioch Unified School District, they put a black male in that place so that you can't speak to racism. But he's doing the job of the overseer. And so for me, it was so difficult to sit there and have this young man cry. So of course, I cried with him. He was like, what have I done? I asked those three so-called subject matter experts, did you even talk to him to get his side of the story? He filed a complaint against a young white girl at Orchard Park School. I'm fully transparent, so if I know the names, I'm giving the names. I don't think we do ourselves justice when we keep secrets. So those three individuals, I asked them, did you even speak to the young man? And the answer was no. They only got the side of the story of a young, hot-tailed white girl who was chasing another black male student and got offended when Matthew told her he wouldn't like her, and then took her friends to the principal's office. And now, because of some state law that's in place, most of the parents I talk to, their black male students have a sexual offense put upon them. So we're talking about Emmett Till 2024. We're not going to stand for it, but at the end of the day, the solution, when they told me this goes to the school board, I'm so glad we flipped it, but we had to say take them out of that school because we know it won't be a safe environment for them anymore. So you're kind of in a lose-lose situation, but at the same time, I just want to know when those kind of expulsions get to the board, I didn't know it worked that way, we have to ask the questions. How can you look at one side of your hand and not flip it over, turn it all over, and get all? And those three stiff-necked white women were not willing to say that they needed racial, not implicit bias training, racial bias training, because it's racist. It's not, it has nothing to do with anything other than weaponizing black males. I asked the person who was responsible for the expulsion, how many times have you been in this setting this year? Was it over 60? He said, probably not. Was it over 30? Probably. I said, how many times were there African-American males? The vast majority. So when you see behaviors of a 13-year-old boy, I mean, for what I experienced when I was a young girl, scared to go to the restroom when certain people were in the hallway, there was physical, you know, the little managed little boys. Well, this was no physical touch at all. But he's kicked out of the school. This young man, if given the opportunity, if I get the return call from Adante Pointer, will be a civil rights lawyer. He was so bright, he was able to ask the question. They weren't able to look at him. But that's the pattern that we have in place of getting a black male to come and then chastise the kid as they're pretty much breaking his spirit. It won't happen to Matthew because we all know he reached out to the NAACP, he reached out to others. We have to stand behind him and Dershawn Jackson. Thanks.
Yes. Lovely points. And when there's something that needs to be done, we all need to stand up. Not just one of us, it needs to become the village. The village needs to stand up. So our next panelist question is going back to the education part for the school board. And I don't know if the city manager or the Ms. Chanel, the board supervisor, would like to answer this as well. But one of the things that the youth council did is that when it came to education, we said, we're doing this resolution, and it got accepted to the state. So now we're pushing from a statewide for the NAACP to push California to actually teach African American history, and not only that, other minority groups as well for resolution. So what we want to know is, how can we get our youth educated not only about LGBTQ history and African American history and Latino history, but how can we get the history that is not actually being taught in the schools and actually get them now to be taught?
So that's a good question. And I want to go back to Gigi and the other folks who spoke. I believe everything you all said. That's why I ran for the board. Like, I see it a million miles away. And part of it is we need staff who want to be there, who understand our children, and who understand social justice and understand like systemic oppression. And if they don't, we need to train them. And yes, I think 80-something% of our staff, maybe, it might not be that high anymore, are white. I'm not opposed to white teachers. Most of the teachers in the United States are white, right? That's not the issue. The issue is when you're not willing to kind of understand culture responsive, we call it culture responsive pedagogy, but understand how our actions impact students of all ethnic groups, right? And so when I talked about the black teachers who said to me, should I leave? And I said, no, can you stay? If you can stay, stay. Part of it is that we have to, like, my idea is to have, and one of the parents said this at one of the board meetings too, is to have like a cohort of black teachers where they can actually come together and create community. So, like, for example, the National Equity Project has a Black Teacher Project, and they go into schools all across the country and they make sure that black teachers have safe spaces to talk about the things that are important and to bring ideas to the board and to the district to say, here's what we're thinking. Because a lot of times, and I know as a former teacher, I was an elementary teacher, and there would be times I worked in South Central LA, I worked in Oakland Unified, and they didn't listen to me. I'm like, I'm a black woman, I got a black child. But it was, we know everything, right? And I'm like, you actually need to listen to black teachers because we can offer a lot, because this is our community for the most part. So I just want to say I believe you. Gigi, you know you can call me. And I did. Yes, anytime, and any of you can, to kind of share, as well as Dee. And sometimes we can't do anything necessarily right away, but we know when we're on the dais how to make a decision, right? So if we know this is happening, then we can understand, like, these are the decisions we need to make on the dais, because a lot of the work you're talking about is work that the school district does. We put policy in place. We monitor, we do things like that, we govern the district, but a lot of things you're talking about is about the educator on the ground. So our job is to do a better job of making sure that the district is hiring educators that want to be in our district and who understand the things that you were saying in terms of you should not put certain things up on the wall, right? What's going to empower our students, what's going to make them feel like they belong in our district. I want our kids to be so powerful when they leave, like they understand. They understand their power when they're in the world. And right now we're taking that from them because of the way we're treating them and the way we're treating parents for the most part. And so I just want to say I believe you, and, and my goal is to eliminate all that foolishness. And I don't even remember the question he asked.
Something about history.
Oh, history. That is a purview of the board. We approve, for example, so we approve courses. We're not the final approver. The state has to look at our curriculum and everything and say, yes, this is approved by the state. But we have ethnic studies through the state. Some places have African American history. I don't think any of our schools do, and forgive me if we do. But those are the things that the school board can look at with our new superintendent and say, here's our vision, and this is what we want, and we need these courses in place, and then we get them approved by the college board or something, and then we can have those courses in place. But now we have the board to actually do that, to look at those type things. So we should have Chicano studies, we should have African American studies, and when students take those classes, they get those credits go towards their A through G, which is required if you want to go through a 4-year university, right? So those are the things that we can work on.
Okay, so she answered the question about the history. I just wanted to get back to, I didn't catch your name. Maria. So when you mentioned that you spoke with the teacher, you spoke with the principal, at this moment, if I was you, hopefully it doesn't happen, and this is for all the parents. If you reach out to the teacher and you reach out to the principal and they don't do anything, reach out to the board members. Because we need to know, like I know that you said you've seen the photos, right? I'm pretty sure the photo, the poster, you sent it to the principal as well?
I didn't, but there was a change in principles, and once, I guess, obviously that wasn't okay. And
Right.
It came down.
Okay. And so when you guys feel like, as a parent or a guardian or a grandparent, you feel like you're not being heard, you went to the teacher, you went to the principal, that is when you can always email us and say, hey, this is what's going on. I did the chain of command, I did protocol, and nothing is happening. I have a motto, and it's always been my motto, we can't fix it if we don't know it's broken, right? So it's okay, and like we were saying about having a safe space for families, it's okay for families to be able to reach out. Don't think you're being a snitch, a narc, or whatever. These are your babies, and you have every right to protect them with everything in you, right? Also, you made a comment in reference to what can we do as parents. It does take a village. I was born in the 70s, and I was born and raised in San Francisco. And so we used to have families, my neighbor, if I was out of line, my neighbor would be able to check me, and I couldn't say nothing back, right? Tashina, yeah. So, and we had that village. Now the times have changed, and people don't feel safe with the neighbors checking their kids and stuff like that. So my goal is to make sure that families have a safe space, mothers and fathers and guardians. A lot of times we feel like our children are failing in homework, right? They're not doing a good job. But we have to keep in mind that maybe mom and dad did not graduate. So when they are going home with their homework and they're coming back to the teachers in the building and they're coming back with not their homework being completed, that is my goal, to find out if mom and dad need special tutoring and offering workshops for these parents, because parents do need to. My mom dropped out of school when she was 10 because she was a single mom. She had my oldest sister at 16. So a lot of times we have to understand that it's not that the parents are in the home not caring about their students' grades. Mom and dad don't know how to read. And so that's for our black and our brown students. So that is one of my goals, and that is a part of the village, making sure that parents have the resources so they can help their students.
I just want to acknowledge, I think that's Anna Marie Farias back here. She's our new assemblywoman. And I know when we talk about books and our history, and her being a Latina woman, I've been in candidate forums with her, and she has talked about some of these issues that we have in our school system. So I'm just going to put her on the spot real quick since she's our state legislator.
We can't.
We can't? Okay. Congratulations, Anna Marie, on your race. And representing East County, so we're happy you're here today. And then just to circle back, Miss Simone, who first spoke, she's from Pittsburgh, and she works in the school district in Pittsburgh. And she have started her own nonprofit where the students that she's talking about that, at third grade, they're unable to read, and so she's trying to capture them. So she works with them in the school, but now she's working with them at Starbucks on Railroad on Saturdays, and those students come in. Starbucks lend out their area where you usually see people doing homework or something else. Now, Miss Simone has turned it into a reading area for them. So I just want to congratulate her for stepping up in our community to do that. And in the city of Pittsburgh, we have realized that it's just not the school district, and as council members, that we also have to take part into what's going on within our city in terms of literacy. And so we did do resolutions, as Gavin was sharing. The city council did a resolution, as well as the school board, on focusing on literacy, in particular with our Latino and African American community. We have also brought in some of our nonprofits and community-based organizations. So First Five has done a great job within the city of Pittsburgh, focusing on African American males, because that's the highest rate right now in the city of Pittsburgh in terms of literacy. As well as some of our service programs or service groups, such as Kiwanis. We have a service club group called PAC, even our Pittsburgh Rotary. Every single event in Pittsburgh, they're handing out books. And it's books that look like our African American Latino children, because we understand that that's important. That's our highest population within our city, and so that has been a major focus for us. And then Ms. Maria to talk about teachers. I know when I done spent a lot of time in West Contra Costa County just working, and earlier this year I attended an African American leadership luncheon there was educators there. My mother-in-law happens to be from Richmond, educator for the last 40 years, and Richmond, they have an African American group for teachers. And I met 5 different teachers that live right here in Antioch, and they all work in West Contra Costa County. It's similar to what you were sharing of not really feeling like it's a safe space for them to teach. And so they drive and commute every day to West Contra Costa County because they feel like they can be their self and teach the way they want to teach. And so it's, as Ms. Gigi said, we flipped the board, but now it takes the work for them, our board members, to create that change, to create those safe spaces so we can have African American, Latino teachers in our schools here, and then also changing those processes as well in providing that training. So, thank you.
Thanks, and I'll just follow up by saying the same thing. It also takes city leadership. And so my understanding is that there has not been consistent meetings between the city of Antioch and the Antioch Unified School District, and that's changing. So I just want to thank Councilmember Torres Walker for being on that board as one of the 2 council people who have, along with myself, who will be meeting beginning in January with the school board, the school district, so we can see what we can do together, because, you know, like the resolutions, and all that stuff, what can we do as a city to back our youth? Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't even mention that. So, yeah, in the city of Pittsburgh, we have a 2x2 subcommittee where our city manager and 2 council members and 2 school board members, they meet twice a month to talk about, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Keep going.
Okay, to talk about issues that's happening within the city, and to ensure that if there's funds that need to be used where the school district may not have those funds, and we need to allocate funds from the city, then we're doing that as well, so that we're being supportive on both ends, because it's not just a school district problem, it's our problem too, because it's our youth. And so we want to make sure we're wrapping those services around both ways to support our youth in our community.
All right. Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause for our panelists? On behalf of the East County NAACP Youth Council, we would like to thank you for coming and showing up and showing out and showing your support for us and with us today. These are our queens. Each and every one of you are a queen and strong. And don't forget, this crowd here, we behind you. We behind you every step of the way. So when our youth are in trouble, when our seniors are in trouble, we coming to y'all. But best believe we are behind you every step, 10 toes down, we behind you. So we didn't get to ask all of our questions, but we will reach out to you all individually and email you those questions, and we will post the answers to those questions along with those questions. So people, please look out for them. And now we will get ready. Yes.
I'm begging them, please, can I say one thing? Just a request. I know you all probably can't come to every school board meeting or city council meeting. You can't, because you have a life. Some of you commute to work, whatever. There's a lot going on for our communities. But what I found is that when we organize and figure out, okay, we got 50 people. What 5 people are going to go to this board meeting on this day? What next 5 people are going to go to this meeting? We have to, because we are, like, we cannot do it alone. When Miss Leslie May comes to our school board meetings, we hear thunder. Okay? I'm like, here she come. And she's coming with words of wisdom. When I see Miss King, Dominique coming, I know there's going to be thunder, because she's coming to say what she needs to say in support of the right thing. A lot of you will vote for us, and we are so grateful. I'm grateful. But if you and me, even me, if you're not holding us accountable and checking in on us and coming to meetings or emailing what's going on, then there's like this gap, right? I love Chanel. I think she's such a powerful leader. And I want to learn more about what your role does as a supervisor. And I also have to hold her accountable. She has to hold me accountable. What are you doing? You know black children. I know black children are failing in our district. That's my role as a board member and our role together. So what I'm saying to you is I'm glad you're here today. Thank God. Don't let this be the last time. Show up. If you can't come to every meeting, fine. Get some kind of roll call going where you guys are making your way through different meetings so that you don't have to be at every meeting, because that's not realistic for a lot of us. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. So now we will have the acknowledgements.
Is this on? I'm just going to come up here. Okay, so my name's Alasia, and I'm with the youth in AACP. And the first people I'd like to acknowledge was our clergy, and I was wondering if you guys could please stand. I know you guys are in here. Yep. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for coming and showing out, and we appreciate you for everything that you do. The next group of people I would like to acknowledge is the elected officials. Please stand up if you're here. No? Oh, or not? Oh, you're all up here. Yeah. But we appreciate you guys as well, and I'm so happy that I have people like me to look up after and notice that I can do what you can do. So thank you so much. Yes.
Behind you.
Oh. Yes, and thank you.
Them too.
Am I missing something? I'm sorry.
The city council.
Oh, thank you so much. And I appreciate you as well. On behalf of the youth NAACP and Safe Return Project, I thank every one of you for being here today. Thank you for supporting everybody here, and you matter and we matter. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Now, Councilwoman Tamisha Torres Walker.
So I'm just here to present the awards for amazing, exceptional leadership. These are She Ready Awards for women and girls who are making change in our community. And our awardees today are Nadia King. Look, girl, you walked in here with them heels. I was like, I ain't gonna be able to do it, but okay. And Gianna Payton. So, and to assist me in presenting these awards to these young ladies in appreciation of women in leadership, now she can speak, is our assembly member. So you want to have you have 2 minutes. Maybe not even 2 minutes. Okay.
That's fine. Well, first of all, I want to apologize for being so cash. I thought I was going to be able to sit in the back and just enjoy the moment, but after being in suits and heels for the last several months, so I apologize for my casualness. But thank you all for being here, and thank you for allowing me the mic for a minute. You are my first official event since I was sworn in 13 days ago. So as, your official state assemblywoman, I'm really honored to be representing you all, and I hope this is the first of many. I saw you all through the campaign trails, and I'm going to stick true to my words of being an ally and working with you all on these very complex issues, especially around education, especially at the state level. I mean, you all talked already what we need to do at the local level. But just food for thought, you know, together we are stronger. 55% of the state's students are Latino, 5% are African American, API is 10. So people of color dominate public education at 65%. So imagine if we all unite our wisdom and advocacy to dismantle a system that is not working for us. All these strategies are great, but it's at the local level. We're actually the bigger monsters at the state level to get the attention of the California Teachers Union that this outdated system is not working for our children. It is a big battle, and I am one in 120 legislators, but it needs to start the noise from the ground up, and we really need to tackle this in the face that 65% of our children are not graduating with basic math and reading skills. They are hindered in job opportunities when we are graduating children not ready for the workforce. And that is a problem. And if today Latino and Black students walked out of public education, we would collapse that system. There would be no funding for it. But yet, because we are the most marginalized voices in public education, it continues to go, and we need to just challenge, rebuild. You know, we are all advocates of public education. We are not advocates of working in a system that is harming our children. So I look forward to leaning into that space with you all and making sure that those numbers change, that, you know, children are graduating, that the national level high school graduation rate is 80%. What is happening to the rest of the children? And throughout the state, depending what community you live in, our graduation rates are much lower. So I look forward to that, and please reach out, and I look forward to working with you all. And my girl Chanel here, thank you for the shout out there. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, Assembly Member. It was more than 2 minutes, but we appreciate it. It's only your first event. But no, I really appreciate Anna Marie. When I first thought about running for office, she really encouraged me as a woman and a woman of color. And she supported me when even Black women wouldn't support me. And so I super appreciate you. I'm excited about you fighting for us at that level and bringing more resources and equity to this district, which is so needed. So I appreciate you.
Oh, can I say one more good news? Because I know you're all going to. Just one. So Martinez got the first African American elected, Greg Young. 148 years of history.
148 years, so change can happen. So the first awardee I'm going to present is going to be Nadia King.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Everybody up here, all the elected officials and Ms. Walker, they're all women that I admire and I respect very much, so to receive this award from them is definitely something really nice. I try to do my best to support my community so I can give back to my friends and help all the kids that might not be able to speak up or be in their community like I can. So just thank you very much, and I'll keep doing my best.
I don't know how many times I really met Gianna, but she always really quiet. Maybe not at home, but I appreciate your leadership as well. And so our next awardee is Gianna Payton.
Hello, everyone. I would like to say thank you to all of the officials who have decided to put their best foot forward and join us and do their best to help our community. Without these people up here, we would have a much harder time invoking this change we so desperately want. I would also like to say thank you to all of the not really corporations, all of the organizations and people who have decided to come here and help, even though it may not necessarily benefit them. And last but not least, I'd like to say thank you to the community. Without all of you here, none of this would have any meaning. It is the content of the character, not the color of our skin, that matters. Thank you.
So I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I'm being directed today by the youth, so I'm just supporting. So I don't know if it's appropriate for me to just close this thing out. But what I will say is that for the last 15 years, my organizing and leadership has always been about lifting up community. And community had a capacity to lead every time and make change. And so it's been my honor to continue to support the NAACP Youth Council, because our next generation of leaders are most often the most effective when old heads have given up on progress and radical transformation. And so I just want to appreciate the NAACP Youth Council for allowing Safe Return Project to do this event with you all today. We greatly appreciate it, and we're looking forward to continuing to organize with you. And a call to action to the community. We know that we have 2 supervisors. Right now, Chanel Scales Preston is our newly elected supervisor, right? Diane Burgess is our other supervisor. So the strange thing about Antioch is we have 2 board of supervisors representing us. And we at an event today talking about young people leading and the resources that are needed for young people to continue to lead. Diane Burgess did not support a $5 million youth center to be built in the city of Antioch. She actually championed for that youth center to be built in Brentwood, further away from our youth here in Antioch, which statistics have stated countywide that Antioch has the most underserved youth in this county, and she opted to jump right over Antioch and move that $5 million to Brentwood. And so I just want to say that I will be writing a letter to her. I hope that all residents of Antioch who value young people and resources for young people will be writing a letter to her, because she represents more than 80% of Antioch voters, and she just decided that our young people are not worth investing in.
Can we give another round of applause for the Safe Return Project? So as we close out, I want to piggyback off a little bit of that. Did you know that the Youth Council championed for both of those to be in the Pittsburgh and Antioch, because there's abandoned buildings right off of Buchanan? And as we close out, I'm going to let Reverend Pastor Glasper pray us out and have us do the blessing of the food as he comes up. And as he comes up, I just want to mention, when people say they want to honor me, I'm sorry, I have to take a step back and give my hats off to literally Nadia and Gianna, because without me, there wouldn't be an NAACP, especially Gianna, because she was the one that opened the door and rechartered the Youth Council. Thank you.
You bow your heads with me just for a moment. Father in heaven, eternal and everlasting God, we come thanking thee for this meeting today, thanking thee for these elected officials. We come thanking thee for these honorees. We pray that thou would continue to bless our community. Bless the work that we endeavor to do throughout our community. And Lord, we ask that thou will go with us as we go down from this place. That thou will see us to our various destinations, bring us back in an appointed time. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.